Hey, Team FYN Sports and Circuit World of Blairsville present Union Panthers Playback. We want to thank Domino's Pizza right down here from Circuit World. Domino's Pizza here in Blairsville, and Pepsi for the meal and drinks. We have head coach Brian Allison with us tonight, offensive coordinator Howard McCombs. The first segment tonight, joining us, senior number 40 outside linebacker Kyle Williams, and also senior number 36, the kicker, Brian Smith. Now, let's go over a couple things that took place last week in this region. The Panthers are coming off a 55-0 win over Putnam County War Eagles. 2A Region 8 football, here's the standings right now. Elbert County 2-0, Banks County 2-0, Raven County 2-0, your Union Panthers are 2-0, Oglethorpe County 0-2, Social Circle 0-2, Monticello 0-2, and Putnam County 0-2. Now Elberton, the Elbert over in Elberton, Georgia, Elbert County, were over Social Circle 47-7, and that's who the Panthers are going over to play this coming Friday night. So we're going to talk about that game in just a minute. I want to give a shout out to our Team FYN Sports Writer Player of the Week. The Panthers are coming off a huge region win against Putnam County War Eagles, 55-0. Obviously, you can give the Player of the Week to the whole starting defense, but it is hard when a player puts up stats like Sawyer Drake did. The junior wide receiver had 5 catches for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Congratulations to Panthers and Sawyer Drake for the huge win. Coach, now you again, big numbers, but I'll tell you what, I was watching a lot of highlight on this, and not that your offense hasn't done it up to now, but like the other night, I'm watching the highlights, and it seems like starting with your offensive line, they are performing so well to me, what I can see, that you're getting plenty of time, and you can talk about this too, you're getting plenty of time for the play to develop. Pearson has time to get the play developed. You don't seem to have to be right now rushing the play too hard. That's where sometimes mistakes come in when you're rushing it. What do you think about how that offense is playing, especially the line?
Well, I thought they played really well. The offensive line is, as always, is a little bit of one that we're replacing offensive linemen every year, and those guys are starting to develop, and they're getting better each week. And obviously, it helps the quarterback, and it helps the receivers and the running back if those guys are playing well. And I think, once again, I think they're getting better week by week.
Coach Combs, let me ask you that same exact question because, I really enjoyed watching the highlights on this game. Spent a lot of time today looking at it, and the fact of your offense being able to develop a play as an offensive coordinator. I mean, early on in the year when you rush or you get out of sync or get pushed out of the play is when some of these mistakes, turnovers, and things like interceptions happen. But your offense looks like they're in sync and letting the play develop.
Yeah, we're starting to improve, and we're starting to kind of find ourselves. It starts up front, like you were saying. I'm really proud of what they've done. A lot of new guys stepping in, and they've done really well. And it has certainly helped give Pearson time. And we've got some playmakers. We've got some kids that have played in the skilled positions for a couple of years for us straight. It helps to have that, and they know what's going on. And I'm happy with where we're at. We can do a lot better. We struggled a little in the first half last week, but we're always looking to improve. We think we have room to improve, but I'm happy with where we're at.
Coach, that's 2 weeks. When he says we struggled a little, I was reading an article today. It's 2 weeks in a row, just a little bit of a slow start. It's hard to say. You said it yourself last week when you went down the game last week. You said a little slow start. It's hard to call something a slow start when you win 55-0, but still yet. What do you think 2 weeks in a row with a little slow start? Because we'll get into it in the next segment, but this coming week, a slow start is not where you want to be with this team you're coming up against.
No, there's no doubt this coming week can not start slow at all. It goes back to me, when offenses struggle, it comes down to turnovers and penalties. And we had both of those in the first half of the ball game this past week, and that was a result of 13 points. Thankfully, we got Brian here. He kicked 2 field goals when we, in that half to put us up 13-0 at halftime. So I think the penalties, we got down to maybe the 10, had a holding penalty, and ended up Brian kicked a field goal. We were going the other direction and got a holding penalty, and I think we had to kick another field goal. And then the second series, we were down there and had a turnover. It doesn't seem like we were struggling moving the football as much as it was we were making mistakes and putting ourselves behind the sticks.
I don't think you've been on the show. Have you been on the show? You're new here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to give you the new guy treatment. How about that? No, let me say this, because I have number 40 here, outside linebacker Kyle Williams. I want to ask you, considering it's your first time on the show, tell me a little bit about this defensive unit, how you guys are coming together. These are things I asked some of the guys before in the past, but right now at this point in the season, what do you think about the defense and how everybody's working with each other?
We work really hard in the off season together, and we've played pretty much all our life, so we just always know, like, I'm trying to say this, like, we know how each other play, and like if we mess up or something, we know how to, we talk each other up. And our line, they're incredible. They're so good, and we just play very hard. Our defense does.
Well, let me say this: with Union County, all the shows that I do with this county, this is the #1 county that I do shows where you guys always refer back to. We've been playing since we're this high together, stuff like that. So it really shows once you guys get into the high school level of how long you've been playing together. But let me ask you before we get out of this first segment, Elbert speed. Now, obviously, it's hard to recreate the speed you're going to see within your own team on Friday night. But as a defense, I'm looking at this might be the fastest team you guys have come up on this year. So what's some of the talk with your defense this week? The guys, what are some of the things you're seeing on film? They got a lot of weapons and a lot of playmakers.
Oh yes, they got 4 or 5 guys that are pretty good and fast. So we've been talking about mental errors and not missing tackles and just filling our gaps if we have a gap, squeeze and stuff like that, and just play each play. Don't worry about the next one. Because
when I watched the film, you guys had the big playmakers. You guys have several guys that and Pearson is finding his receivers. It shows in the points and the yards, and you guys are running the ball real well. But they have 2 or 3 weapons that you've got to keep an eye on, and the whole entire night. It's going to take 4 quarters, it looks like, to play these guys. So is that what you guys are seeing on film?
Yes, sir.
As a kicker, how long have you been kicking the ball?
Since I first started playing rec ball.
Rec ball? Yeah. You've been kicking the ball that long?
Mm-hmm.
This makes me nervous. I'm not supposed to talk to kickers, all right? I was told by a coach one time I wasn't allowed to talk to kickers. So you had 2 field goals the other night?
Yes, sir.
Now, the other night you had 2. So were you starting kicker last year?
Yes, sir.
Is this your second year starting kicker? Third year starting kicker? I learned something the other night, okay? Well, I might learn something more, but I did not know in the first half, under a minute, you could take a free kick if you want. If you're on the offense and a kickoff to you, you can take a free kick. I didn't know that.
Well, you got a fair catch of punt.
You got a fair catch, right? You got a fair catch of punt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Under a minute, and you can take a free kick.
I don't think it's just under a minute. I think you could probably do it any time you want to do it.
Well, that caught me off the guard the other night.
Typically, you see it, though, at the end of a half or the end of the game.
It's the end of the half.
Because you don't want to just kick it back.
It has to be on a punt, though?
Mm-hmm.
Has to be on a punt. And at the end, on offense, you can take a free kick.
Yes.
3
points.
Huh?
3 points.
Yeah. You can take a free kick. All right.
Tell them we practice it every week.
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Practice the free kick?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm going to ask you your longest field goal. You can only answer that if you want to, but not because I asked it. You want to answer that?
Sure.
What's your longest?
remember.
Oh,
So
come on. Huh?
68 in spring practice.
68 in spring.
Oh, in the practice.
The practice.
He's talking about in the game.
49.
That's okay. We'll take 49 all day long. Coach, let me ask you before we get into the second half. Up to this point of the season, is Friday night the what's the difference in prep for Friday night versus the other games? Because this team, again, I talked about all the weapons you're going to see Friday night with this team as far as your defense.
Well, defensively, I think it's going to take a little bit of time to adjust to some of the speed. Now, the people that Coach McCombs and I were talking about it earlier today, actually, before practice, about the speed that we've seen the last the 2 weeks with Monticello and Putnam. They had speed guys. East Hall had speed guys. Hebersham had speed guys. And so we've seen speed. We just haven't seen it all put together as to what we're going to get. And, that was a part of the scheduling and trying to see East Hall early in the season is just to see the speed that they had. And, and it's worked out. And with Putnam and Monticello both, there's speed in the backfield at running back and at quarterback.
Guys, before we close our first segment, I ask this every week. Coming off a 55-0 win seems like could be one of the perfect games, but still yet, when you left Friday and when you returned to practice, what did you say personally yourself you needed to work on? You wanted to critique yourself about?
Mostly missed tackles and just reading and stuff like that. If I got a tight end, read mesh.
In defense, you guys are talking this week of how quick you need to adjust on this game Friday night to their speed.
Yes, sir.
What about you as far as kicking? What are some of the things that you critique yourself when you come back to practice after Friday night?
I try to fix my steps leading up to the ball and just being able to place the ball in different spots, just that accuracy.
Okay, folks, I'm your host, BKP, and you're watching Union Panthers Playback. This is Circuit World from Circuit World here in Blairsville. We want to thank Domino's Pizza and Pepsi for the meal and the drinks. When we return, we're going to have senior number 68 left guard Dylan Williams is going to be with us, and senior number 10 cornerback Ian Harkins is going to be with us, and we're going to talk to Coach about Elbert County. This is going to be quite a matchup for the Union Panthers, but we're going to see what they have prepared for Friday night as soon as we return.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
You're going to remember this September because the model year-end savings are huge at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. Now save over $6,000 off new 2018 Chevy Equinox, or save over $12,500 off new 2018 Silverado Crew Cab LT. Days has model year-end discounts on every Chevy, so the time to buy is now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, where new Chevys cost less.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads. going to remember this September because the model year end savings are huge at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. Now save over $6,000 off new 2018 Chevy Equinox, or save over $12,500 off new 2018 Silverado Crew Cab LT. Days has model year end discounts on every Chevy, so the time to buy is now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, where new Chevys cost less.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
Hey, we're back. I'm your host, BKP, and it's you're watching Union Panthers Playback right here at Circuit World and Blairsville. Again, thank you, Domino's and Pepsi. We have head coach Brian Allison with us and offensive coordinator Howard McCombs. Joining us now in this second segment is senior number 68 left guard Dylan Williams and senior number 10 cornerback Ian Harkins. Now we're gonna look at some things here as we went over with the 2A, but the Panthers traveling up to take on Elbert County. They're over Social Circle this past week, 47-7, and 33 of those came in the first quarter, and 7 in the second, 7 in the third. So that's how that stacked up. Elbert County over Social Circle had 531 yards, 247 passing, 284 rushing, 0 turnovers, 0 fumbles, and 0 interceptions. Coach, let's just double down on that as we started talking earlier. This team here, in the region, you got the 4 top teams 2-0 and 4 bottom teams 0-2. That all changes this week. That jumbles up. Talk a little bit, just go into Elbert, their program, and what you guys are going to see Friday night so the fans know.
Well, I think it's a pretty rich tradition. I believe they won a state championship in the maybe back in the early 90s or maybe the mid 90s. I'm not sure. It could have been in the 80s, but they have a rich tradition of football at Elbert County. They play in their stadium's called the Granite Bowl, and it's I think all the seating is made out of granite, and should be a very interesting game because they're a well-coached team. Their kids play very hard, and they have several very good players.
Well, you guys, coach, you guys are coming off 541 offensive yards. So we're looking at 2 teams that can put up 500 yards, explode the ball. You're looking at Pearson Allison, folks, the other night, 16 for 25, 302 yards. And then rushing, Pearson had 101 yards for over 300 and some yards himself the other night. But talk about this explosive as an offense going up against this defense, because I watch them and they send hats to the ball and they don't get caught real flat-footed as far as speed on the outside and things like that. So talk a little bit about their defense. You guys,
they fly around the ball, and they really don't have any, certainly don't have any holes in the defense. That's for sure. They're solid, they're sound, they're well coached. Easily the best defense we will face. But we're just going to focus on what we do and get our game plans in place. We're going to try to prepare the best we can to do what we can do and play the best we can. We're going to focus on what we do and attack them like we would anybody else. See what happens. It will be a great challenge.
Okay, let me ask you, left guard, senior number 68. You looking at some film? Have you looked at what this defense is going to bring?
They're very fast, very talented. Their nose is a really good player. Their end, they've got a good end. their linebackers on the outside are very fast, very talented players. So it's going to be, you can't miss any blocks. We can't afford any of that.
Let me ask you this, Coach, because I listen to these young men, and what I do get impressed with your team every time they come. They recognize their opponent, and that's probably from a coaching standpoint. It obviously recognizing, like this young man's recognizing everything that he's going up against Friday night. So how do you get these young men to acknowledge that, understand it, and how important it is to get these guys to recognize the opponent they're going to see Friday nights?
Well, we have really good young men, and I think they're very respectful of their opponents, and they take their football serious. And we may not be the biggest or the fastest or the strongest, but these guys are going to work as hard as anybody. And when it's time to put the game on the line, I think that's what they'll do. And they're smart. They can look at the video and see each of those individual positions and know what they're getting ready to face.
Let me ask you, Ian, as a cornerback, the same kind of questions as far as the speed. As Coach said earlier in the year, you've had some teams already with some speed, but there's several different weapons on this team. So, as the cornerback, where you're at on the field, what are you seeing on Friday night that you got to make sure you adjust to very quick and be able to observe and see what's happening early on in this game?
We're going to have to watch out for the run game more, just in case, because we're probably going to be up against a lot of speed. So we're going to have to make sure we know where the speed is on the field and how we can keep it so they don't get to the speed.
Coach, is there something, and I mean, the only way I know how to ask this, when you said a game like this, you have an outstanding football team. They have a good football team. All right, two good football teams going to play Friday night. So they have the same thing. They have to adjust early on to your speed, your play. You have to adjust to theirs. Is it sometimes a game like this of whoever can pick up first and get settled in? Is that sometimes how these games can go, is who can get settled in first and pick up on the other team when you guys are both great teams?
I think, quick adjustment will obviously put you in position to be more successful early on. And it'll go back to the same stuff that we've talked about that slowed us down is turnovers. Turnovers and penalties, whether it's on either side of the ball, and penalties on either side of the ball will make a difference in early on in this game. And so like you said, we have some receivers that are pretty good, and Ian's got to practice against some pretty good receivers for the last several months. So I don't see it being a huge adjustment for those guys, but yet once again, they do have a couple of guys that can go.
Well, let me ask you this: in your career, you definitely have the players to put on the field to play this team Friday night. In your career, is it games like this that the coach comes back and is able to point to a flag on the field or a turnover that is a determining factor in a game like this? Are these the kind of games that flags and a turnover, changes it for you?
I think in most every game, and I say this to our guys, 4 or 5 plays is going to make a difference in a ball game. And it could be a flag early, it could be a penalty early, it could be a turnover late, it could be a special team play. You just don't ever know where those 4 or 5 plays are going to come from. So, I think that's a factor into what we're trying to talk to our guys about, is to make sure that every play that you play it the best you can.
Folks, we're talking 2A Region 8 football here. We gave you 4 of the teams. Let me give you the last 2 teams from last week's. Banks County was over Oglethorpe County, 31-7. Rabun County over Monticello, 42-16. Let me tell you where everybody's at Friday night before we wrap up here. Banks County is home versus Rabun County. Oglethorpe County is home versus Social Circle. Monticello is home versus Putnam, and your Union County Panthers are headed over to Elbert County Friday night. One more time before we close up with these young guys. One more time. You have Elbert 2-0, Banks 2-0, Union County 2-0, Raven 2-0, Oglethorpe 0-2, Social Circle 0-2, Monticello 0-2, and Putnam 0-2. And this all changes when we get back here Monday night. This all changes. Got a lot of 2-0s going head-to-head this Friday night. Let me ask you a question. Now, when you left Friday night, critique yourself a little bit. When you showed back up for practice, what did you say you needed to work on? You need to improve at?
I need to get a little faster when I pull out. I needed to break down, get my hips lower and make the block all the time when I'm pulling.
How about yourself? Same question. When you left Friday night, critique yourself a little bit. What do you feel you need to work on?
Make sure I'm making the right calls to the outside linebackers, and making sure I have the right footing and breaking up on the ball good and making good tackles.
That's one thing, folks at home, that's always impresses me with this team. Every one of these players that come here, when they answer that question, they're very direct, they know what they're talking about, and they focus on their self-improvement when they go in the next practice. So I want to tell you, that's big to me. Coach, again, now, the offense, you have Pearson has been making a lot of big plays. Okay, is there a time where your offense sometimes relies on that one player, sometimes too much? Is that possible?
Oh, absolutely. It can happen when I've had it happen in years past. We're really well balanced this year, and I think the guys trust each other across the board. And so, I haven't felt that's happened too much this season, but Pearson has certainly done enough to bail us out several times, and I'm thrilled with where he's at and what he has done for us. So he's plenty capable of kind of putting the team on his shoulders when we need it. And so, that can happen, and people can, it would be natural sometimes for kids to lean on that, but we got a lot of kids that have played together a long time. They're confident in what they do, and so I don't think it's been a problem. It can be. Hopefully it won't be, but if we have to, I sure don't mind putting the ball in his hands and turning him loose, and he's done great things this year.
What I found throughout the shows, talking to your offense throughout the shows, they have a lot of respect for him. They do, and they respect. He is a playmaker, but at the same time, they never lose the focus that it's an offensive unit.
Sure.
How is Pearson? How is he receiving this? How is he handling?
He's handling it great, absolutely great. And going into the season, I wasn't sure where he'd be. He was last year as a backup. He was as prepared as anyone you could possibly have. We gave him the whole playbook in a sense, and a lot of times you just package those things together for your backups. He was ready to go at any time last year and came in a few times and did really well. Obviously, we had Cole last year and had a great quarterback, so he didn't get as many reps during the season. But coming into this season, it's still his first year starting. You never know for sure what you're going to get.
Exactly.
And he's exceeded any expectations I had. I'm thrilled with what he's doing.
Well, last year he has a lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards, a lot of stats. But last year he does have the touchdown against GAC.
Absolutely.
I remember that night. I was there. I watched him come in a couple times for Cole, and he actually handled things very well, and I was impressed. Looking forward to it. Folks, that's just something. This team, this total team, offense and defense, they're playing as a unit. They're playing good football, but obviously the stats show Pearson Allison is putting up some big numbers, big touchdowns, and we always want to check when a quarterback is, how they're handling that.
He's handling it great. He's doing a great job. He's focused this week. It's another week for him. He's preparing like he has every other week, and he's got a good level head on his shoulders. His dad knows a thing or two about the game, so that's
why I quit looking that way. I wasn't. That's why I gave you. That's why you and I are doing this segment right here.
It hasn't hurt him, and sure enough, again, all joking aside, his football IQ is really high, and that makes things easy. It allows us to do a lot of things. allows us to do a lot of things.
He was here last week. I enjoyed sitting next to him and talking to him, but that's why you and I we just did that segment right there. Coach, congratulations with the whole entire squad. Hey, good luck Friday night. You guys, I know you're going to be in it. It's going to be a good football game. And, Coach, we wish you well. This Friday night, folks, travel over there and watch a good football. The weather, it's not going to be 90 degrees at kickoff, okay? So it's football weather. Maybe close to looking for your sweatshirts, getting those out on Friday night. But, again, they'll be traveling over to Elbert County. And kickoff is at 7:30. We want to thank Circuit World here of Blairsville, Domino's Pizza right here in Blairsville, and Pepsi for the drinks. We want to thank the players and coaches for coming every week and being with us. Don't forget, 10 a.m. every Monday morning, 10 a.m. FYNTV.com. It's that simple, FYNTV.com. Instant replay with Dave Garner. Okay, so we go over all the Friday night games, and also we get some softball stats in there and games every Monday morning. You can follow us on Twitter at Team FYN Sports, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us there. We post everything there, and we'll see you Friday night on the sideline. I'm your host, BKP. We're out, Luther. I think that's everything, right?